did this get in here?
Hey, give me back my intro.
I don't even know what this is.
Don't make me call Dio.
You can have it. So we're starting off this part pretty simple. No large fan base, except for the Gardevoir complex, as I like to call it. No huge roles in other spin-off series as far as I'm concerned. And definitely not a Pokemon I see talked about too often. But I love it. Mean Chow is definitely a unique fighting type in my book. And as far as pure fighting types go, it's my favorite. What I feel to be one of the best things about it is its ability, Regenerator. This Pokemon certainly shows that abilities are not just helpful to one specific type of Pokemon. Due to Axis of U-turn, Mean Chow can definitely scout like crazy. And with several other moves, it'll be able to recover itself easily from nuisances like poison. Hazards? Not a problem. It'll recover right away. One substitute? Why not? It also has more options both on the support and defensive end such as Sword Dance, High Jump Kick, Baton Pass, Quick Guard, and even has enough special attack to carry its very own hidden power. And I really don't acknowledge this too often, but I rather enjoyed leveling this Pokemon up to its appropriate level. Maybe it's just that impression that Mindfu had. It looks like it gives that look of, I know Kung Fu, fear me! And I get to fight Aldinos while doing it, what more could you ask? Also, I just really like weasels, and Mean Chow just has that design that makes me want to get one, regardless if it's not even great in combat. So Mean Chow is just overall a great and fun Pokemon to use. Not much more to say. And here comes the definitive mascot of Pokemon Black and White 2, and the only other Ice Legendary outside of Articuno. I have to say, with all the marketing that this sequel was placed under, Kyurem definitely lived up to my expectations. So the main gimmick behind Kyurem was his forms. Now, remember Rotom? Yeah, this is like Rotom, if the method of switching between forms was portable. And as long as you're not going super competitive must destroy with White Kyurem, then you will probably find use in both forms. At the same time, considering you were like me, and could obtain both Reshiram and Zekrom through transferring from the predecessor with the same version name, you have access to both at any time. I kinda feel bad for abusing the splicers, but this is a series based around trapping animals into tiny balls. So what's the difference between forms? Their typing remains the same, but two of their signature moves change in order to complement their new stats. I really welcome this idea and I hope more Pokemon share this new feature. It's also nice that the concept of the legendary trio actually influence each other instead of just giving us interesting origins. Kyurem is part of the Yin and Yang trio and symbolizes Wuji, or unlimited power and the absence of Yin and Yang. Much like Deoxys, it's an alien. However, it lives in the giant chasm to wait for a trainer to fill its missing parts. And that's another thing. This was part of Team Plasma's world domination plot, and it was legitimately only boss fight we've had that involves trying to feint a wild Pokemon. But there's just too much to it that dragging on would really keep you. Kyurem is definitely a unique and cool legendary. I don't even know who's writing this script anymore. Next number, please. And here comes the popular Gen 2 Pokemon, Ampharos.
You called?
You're not really popular.
Coming from a guy with only 5,000 subs? Trust me, kid, you're anything but hot shit.
Just read the script.
Okay, then, Ampharos. Let's see, what's that number down there? 38? Better than 65, I guess. Epirus is the evolutionary stage of the adorable Mareep Fluffy. From the Fluffy stage, its wool has shed, and it now resembles a yellow kangaroo. which is probably one of the cutest Pokemon in the entire roster.
Stop saying it's the cutest. There are cuter Pokemon.
Oh, but you see, Leedy, it's actually the truth, conducted by complex experimental studies at the University of New Zealand.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, Ampharos is known far and wide as the Lighthouse Pokemon, for its ability to generate light across great distances and serving as a rather effective beacon for travelers, as shown in Gen 2 with the one that powers Olivine City's lighthouse.
Yet, it still can't learn Tail Glow.
Well, you still can't learn how to pronounce the simplest of words, so I suppose we're even. Ampharos also has an interesting origin, as it's based off the science fiction novel To Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, which is definitely quite intriguing. But of course Capcom couldn't see the obvious superiority of Ampharos Man, so they resorted to Sheep Man instead. Shame.
I also have to say, there was a lot of fan service in Pokemon Black and White 2, being able to acquire both Mareep and Riolu right at the start.
Oh well, of course, I mean, even those two were more memorable than the final boss.
Oh, burn. So Ampharos can definitely learn a number of moves alongside its pretty reliable stats that make it very handy in both Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Black and White 2. These include Thunder Wave, Discharge, Cotton Guard, and even Confuse Ray.
It can also learn moves such as Agility and Signal Beam, which doesn't work half bad in competitive battling. And if those aren't your cup of tea, then you can always try something like Choice Specs to boost its power, or even a somewhat defensive set. So overall, we think Ampharos is a really cool Pokemon. It sports an interesting concept, and its good stats make it a swell addition to any team. And with that, I'm out of here.
What, you're leaving already?
Yeah, I can't be associated with this travesty. I mean, I've got standards for fuck's sake.
A fully evolved dragon type? Thank you so much, King Freak. I friggin' love you. Anyway, I guess I should talk about the Pokemon itself. Not really much needs to say about its battle capabilities. It's your standard OP, I kill everything, the fairy type is very overdue. Dragon Dance? Sword Dance? Outrage? What else do you need to know? Haxorus design-wise is also fantastic. It's another bipedal dinosaur, and I'm sure you're tired of me putting a bunch of Pokemon like this. But I can't help it. Besides, unlike a lot of dragon designs, this just screams, make me use Outrage. Also, I guess I might still be the only one to realize this, but the line carries a very interesting cultural reference. This is represented by the tusks. As an Axew, daggers. Kind of cute too. As a Fracture, swords. And as a Haxorus, battle axes. Oh yeah, that's what I want. Gladiator! And I know I mentioned this previously, but 50 is just a good level for me for something powerful like this. With Gen 5's engine, it's not over obnoxious to grind, but at the same time, definitely feels satisfying. So get one of these and outrage all that stands in your path. Told you I would get back to ya. And now it's finally time to talk about you again. Being my favorite Kanto starter, I still get loads of enjoyment out of the Bulbasaur line. I can't really say much of its use in meta without saying what's already been said, so I'll be brief. Is the sun up? You're possibly in trouble. Is the sun up with no safe switch-ins? You're in a whole heap of trouble. Do you have no way to take back the weather? Well, I think your team is pretty much dead at this point, mainly thanks to sleep powder and chlorophyll. But of course, there is a lot more reason than just being impressive for a starter in combat. I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I pick Bulbasaur as my starter, I kind of have that fresh feel in my playthroughs. Yet at the same time, it feels like I'm reliving the fun I had in my previous journey. It kind of mixes in that blend of both memorable experience and diverse moves in order to make a sort of good tasting smoothie. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Whenever I pick a starter, Bulbasaur is my favorite flavor of smoothies. Speaking of that, Bulbasaur is the only starter to blend in two types right from the start. which is still a unique concept to this very day. Not even Gen 6 is going to stop this. Interesting concept as well, being a dinosaur with a solar-powered bulb on its back, which progressively gets stronger as it evolves, taking in more light. And of course, I have fond memories of Bulbasaur in the anime. Entertaining and interesting. I do realize that Bulbasaur is vastly talked about in a positive manner often by many users, and what can I say? I'm kind of guilty of the same love as well. I feel it's a very well thought out Pokemon, and it definitely deserves its recognition. One and three and hit the beat. Definitely what I like to classify as a personal favorite of mine. Falling very close to one of my favorite electric types of all time, Milotic is one of my main hit and run based Pokemon. With the stat distribution to back it up, I only find Jolteon outclass it as far as pure electric types. And here's a little tip for you kiddies. Breed one with a Linoone, and you'll get access to Switcheroo, which is pretty nice for a trick up its sleeve. It's also not too bad with its physical attack power either. If Game Freak decides to give it Sword Dance and more of a move pool, it would be viable in meta. But for now, T-Wave with a number of moves makes it surprisingly very helpful no matter what you use it for. So Milotic is most likely based off the incarnation of Raiju, with only one other Pokemon to have this trait. And I don't think this is something that too many people highlight, but its main ability is to generate lightning. How Milotic does it is that it constantly creates static electricity as it runs and builds it up in its mane, which then discharges into lightning clouds. Now, if you're familiar of how lightning is actually formed, you would know that lightning is just another and larger form of static electricity. Design-wise, I also find very unique for a canine Pokemon. Its little fur tufts on its front paws makes it very appropriate for its concept. I also like how most of its body structure is actually more polygonal, which makes it look like an ambassador of lightning. And it's most likely a main wolf. That's interesting. I don't think I have to ramble any further. Milotic is just awesome. The Pokemon of beauty and destruction. Milotic, you are one of my favorite water types to ever have on my team. I swear, these things are like a curse. You know you want one, but you also know how tough it is to receive one. It's like the Shadow Sirens and how they keep luring you with their pleasant voice, which is what it's probably based off of due to its behavior. If you ever made an attempt to get one of these in 4th or 3rd gen, you would know how frustrating it is to find a Feebas and evolve it into a Milotic. But honestly, that's one reason I like it. Unlike the many versions of very inconsistent random encounters and horrendous grinding, Milotic takes a different type of dedication. You need at least one day to catch what you need, and you need to make sure to prepare the proper berries, then you're rewarded with this beast of a Pokemon. There's a much easier method in Gen 5, which though I liked the idea, I do prefer the easier route so I can train more. Alright, we already know all of this, but do people actually acknowledge how helpful it is? I'll certainly give it credit for that. Milotic has very good special defensive power, coupled with the special attack to back it up. Its physical defenses aren't all that, but thanks to its ability, it'll increase defense upon a status condition. This and rest, it's almost perfect. Apart from its behavior, its design, much like Dragonaire's, can be connected to that of the Oarfish. It gives Milotic that serpent look which I very much approve of, and that marble scale at the end of its tail is just so pretty. All I can say, it's definitely a Pokemon that really appeals to me, and definitely does what I feel most water types should be able to do. It's just good. So I kind of view Lugia as sort of the Ocarina of Time in the Pokemon franchise. It's something that you're just so annoyed getting talked about to death, receiving more praise than an iconic video game figure, but at the same time, you can't really say anything against it, because you kind of share the same love. So on the topic of Lugia, there is simply a marvel of things I could talk about. I could go on the next minute or two making cracks about Lugia's hentai hands, but that would be too easy. In battle, I kind of see Lugia as sort of the hole you can fill in for your team. Almost any Uber team can have one as a great asset to the team due to its incredible defensive power, coupled with a nice amount of attacks that it can fight back with. However, coming from someone who didn't play Silver as my Gen 2 game, the main reason I remember and how I was introduced to it was actually through the movie. Lugia takes the role as the Guardian of the Sea and the leader of the Bird Trio. When the Bird Trio would fight over their territory, Lugia would be the one to calm them down. Now the movie itself, it's not as great as I remember it, but where it got it right, it was done right. It was the mere tension it developed at the end that really made me like the movie. Lugia was kind of there to show a small ray of hope in what appeared to be chaotic times. And its shiny form is pink. Frickin' pink! I mean really, what's there not to love about the design? Shut up, text! Well anyway, I should probably wrap this up. I just view Lugia as a Pokemon that many fans can truly remember. And it definitely deserves a spot this high on my list. Well, this is something that probably surprised a number of my viewers. This is definitely a very personal preference, and I guess you're all kind of wondering, why is Scumtank and its incredibly bushy tail on the list? 'Cause I can. Why is Scumtank above Lugia? 'Cause I can. Why do I teach my Scumtank flamethrower? 'Cause I fucking can. So where I describe Lugia in the Uber tiers, Scumtank kind of fulfills the role in any Pokemon team that's in the lowest tier. But honestly, this is one reason I prefer fighting in NU. In fact, Scumtank describes NU. As you can probably see, Scumtank is diverse. Really, really diverse. Just not the best statistics. If you want to make a team and you need a spot, Scumtank is probably a great choice, being able to fulfill many roles, depending on what you want to do. The Dark Poison type only replicated by one other Pokemon is also a great combination in my book, only making it weak against ground. Its design is definitely really cute as well. At least for me. It kind of has both feline and method traits. And if I saw that tail, I would immediately want to touch it, no matter how stinky it is. Also, just like how some people really love Magikarp and its hilarious concept, and maybe Electrode from being the suicide bomber of the Pokemon world, I just find Scumtank to be hilarious. Just like what you would expect out of a skunk, it emits a horrible stench, probably very exaggerated in the Pokédex entry, but it learns both Flamethrower and Explosion naturally. I don't know about you guys, but I think there's a little more power to its stench than one may think. But I just get a load of fun using this thing, and I'm still getting a lot of ideas that I'm just kind of constantly experimenting with. Guess it's just one of those types of Pokemon, eh? My favorite pet rock and my favorite fossilized Pokemon? Here it is. Farmall. Sharing the same typing as Crustle and looking like a mantis shrimp with an armor-covered plate, this thing already just looks cool. Battle-wise, it will fulfill all your NU needs. It can rapid spin, it can set up rocks, it can sword dance, and it has pretty powerful moves with a great amount of survivability, making it a very reliable rock type on the roster. And
our model is nothing anymore. That's how we talk now.
Hey, I thought I sent you to that alternate dimension. What's with your face?
I made some deals I'm not too proud of. By the way, why are there cupcakes?
Don't question.
Whatever. By the way, our model is still the cupcakes knockoff.
Yeah, get out.
Okay.
Now time to move on to more important matters. Yes, you probably guessed it. The main reason why Armaldo is here is because of its role it took within Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky. You've already heard me in my Wigglytuff segment, but what really made Wigglytuff into the carefree spirit you see him as? In the special episode, Igglybuff the Prodigy, you get to see the origin of how the Guildmaster came to be. It started off with Igglybuff playing with some of his friends. A duo of childhood bullies would soon interrupt and convince Igglybuff to explore the murky forest in order to investigate a rumor. At the end, Armaldo appeared and scared off the two bullies. However, due to Igglybuff's carefree spirit, he stayed. Armaldo didn't see the harm of showing him his home and tell him that he used to be an adventurer. He also showed him a map that was yet to be deciphered. But Igglybuff, with his incredibly spontaneous mindset, was able to uncover the secret by burning the map. Armaldo was surprised and decided to take Igglybuff to the Eastern Cave. Armaldo was cautious, but with Igglybuff going head-on, they were able to solve the dungeon's puzzle and acquire a Defend Globe. Igglybuff did some convincing and became Armaldo's apprentice. From there, they had a lot of fun adventures, and they made an almost perfect team with their polar opposite personalities. However, at the end of their adventures through the Fortune Ravine, it was revealed that Armaldo was an outlaw this entire time. He stopped Igglybuff from his hyper voice, then he explained. He was the one who started the rumor so no one would look in the murky woods. He was living a life of running away, but then Igglybuff came into the scene. He saw something in him, a young one, with the opportunity to become a great adventurer like he once was. At that point, he was willing to risk getting captured. Not wanting to see Igglybuff suffer the same fate as he did, he calmed him down before Igglybuff became an outlaw and turned himself in so Igglybuff can continue to live his life as a free spirit. In that scene, he also gave the Defend Globe as a gift to remember him. To me, this showed that he was not greedy, and despite his short life, his inner adventuring spirit passed on to another generation. He was a true mentor, and his life did shine bright. I'm sure these instances happen to all of us. Maybe someone who appears so different close to you might scare some people off, but those who truly see it find a journey of knowledge, and choosing to live shorter for the greater good. That's why I love Armaldo, and that's why he's this high on the list.